Hi, welcome to Theater Crafts, where we take theater memorabilia and we make brand new treasures. So today, I don't know if you've noticed, I've darkened actually the room today so that you can get a full view of what we're creating today. So this project has been about 10 years in the making. About 10 years ago, I went to this tag sale and I found these film reels and I just thought they were so cool. I didn't know what to do with them, so I grabbed them, and at that same tag sale, they had calendars that had movie musicals. They were expired calendars, but they had these amazing movie musical posters in the calendars. And I just loved the images. They were really colorful and just vibrant, and they just were like waiting to be celebrated. So I got those, and they've been sitting in a drawer for like 10 years. And so I thought, well, I want to be able to celebrate those. So I decided to combine the two of them. So I've taken these film reels, and you see here we have West Side Story. We have Singing in the Rain. That's the one we're going to do today. And we have The Sound of Music. And these are the images that are right from the posters that were included in those calendars. And then I've added lights so you can see they could be wonderful addition to any room, a media space. They could really decorate to show your love of movie musicals. So today we're going to create these film reels, accessories in Theater Crafts. So let's get crafting. All right, here we are at the workbench. Let me show you these a little bit more closely. So this is, obviously, it is a film canister, and I've had these for years. I got these from like a reuse it place years and years ago. And then these are pages out of calendars. They're old calendars, and I'll show you when we get to materials. But I took, this is literally right out of the calendar. And then on the reverse side, you see here on the reverse side, I actually have the mechanism for the lights. And so it can be like a night light, and it's a little hard to see with my lights on here. But actually, let me see if I can shut it off and I'll show you. So you can see it would make a really cool night light there. And then I have, let me turn the lights back on so you can see. So there's that one, The Sound of Music, and then I have West Side Story here. Same idea with lights again in the back of this one. Now, if I were to do this again, I happen to have these lights. I might use remote control lights. These like fairy lights are what I had. But I think it's such a cool way to use old film canisters that you can probably find it at, secondhand stores or antique stores. And in this particular case, images from posters, movie posters of musicals. So let me clear this space here, and we'll get into materials. All right, so here are the basic materials. You obviously need a film canister. This is another one that I got at that same time. This one's a little bit smaller than the other one, but it will work just great. You're going to need your poster. Let me get this. So this is like a classic vintage poster. You can see it's from 2010. So I've had this hanging around for a long time, trying to figure out what to do with it. And it's got a variety of different shows in here. Some of them are musicals, some of them are plays. So I just love the variety there. And then this right here, this is what I used for in the examples. See in this area here, I used it for that, and I also used it for the backing. You can see in the center here. Now I'm going to be honest, you could use anything for that. You could use just scrapbooking paper or something like that. These are plastic. They're kind of a frosted plastic. They're used for scrapbooking paper storage. I had them. A friend of mine was getting rid of her or updating her storage for her scrapbooking paper, and she gave them to me, and I thought, oh, these would work beautifully, and I'll show you how we're going to use those in a moment. I used this foam tape to give a little bit of kind of dimension to the images. So here you'll be able to, let me turn it over, you can see. So I put some foam tape on the back, and it's just to raise it just a little bit, just so that it wasn't exactly flat on the backing. So then you use that. I got this at Dollar Tree. You can get foam tape just about anywhere. Some sort of, like, this is a permanent tape, you know, like a gliding tape that you can use for attaching the images. You could use a glue stick or anything like that as well. Pencil, scissors. I used, this is washi tape, and I used this for those smaller areas. You don't have to. You could, you know, cover those with, like I said, scrapbooking paper or something like that. I thought it'd be really fun to have an image there. And then I actually used for mine like an ink and just like a dauber to distress the edges, and then maybe like something to, I used a piece of cardboard just as a surface to ink those, and then your glue gun, your glue sticks. I think that's about it. All right, let's get started. Okay, so we have the film reel here, and we've got the plastic, the clear plastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of take a pencil and just kind of trace so that I've got an area to cut. I don't know if I don't know if you can see that. I can see it. And I found that a pencil actually was a better choice than something like a pen. You don't want to use even something like a Sharpie. You know, you'd be able to see it in the end. That was my concern. So I'm just using a pencil, and I'm going to cut 4 of these out right now, and that's for the 4 larger sections here, and then we'll cut out the smaller sections in a moment. So literally just like you did in elementary school. See, and then I don't know if you can see that a little bit. All right, so I'm going to cut these out, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've cut out the 4 that are going to go in these locations, and now we're going to cut out the smaller ones here. So I'm not going to be as specific with these, so I'm just going to literally cut like this, because we're just going to put it on the back. If we need to adapt the size a little bit, it's totally fine. We're going to just kind of rough cut these, and I'll show you how we're going to make those work in just a moment. And we have 4 of them, so we're just going to rough cut those. All right, so there we go. And those will go behind in here. Okay, all right. So next we're going to use the washi tape. So if you've ever used washi tape, it's really cool. It's got lots of different images on it. It's typically used in scrapbooking, and like on this one here, you see I've got the washi tape in here, and that is attached to this plastic piece here, and then it's affixed in the back there. So what I'm going to do is, because this is smaller than the size of the opening, I'm just actually going to put the washi tape down here, and this is easy to rip. I put it towards the center, and then I'm going to put another piece. So we're going to have 2 of them. Kind of want them a little off center a little bit, so the popcorn's not exactly opposite each other. And then kind of like that. And then I'm just going to cut them in. Don't have to worry about it being exactly in the center, because we're going, you know, we rough cut them. So we're going to attach those to the background of that center, those smaller sections. So I'm going to do the other 3, and then I'll show you how we attach them. So I'm just finishing up the last one, and I want to show you, because remember we've rough cut these, so you know, sometimes they may not necessarily fit exactly. So you see here it doesn't. So you can just take your scissors and you can just cut that right down, and you'll be all set. All right. So now let's go to the next part. I just want to show you. See how those look in those spaces. And when you've got the light behind them, it's going to shine through that a little bit. So I just think that's really cool. All right, so I'm going to put that aside for right now. And now we're going to get to the image itself. So I'm going to use this image, and then in the middle here, I'm actually going to use this one, I believe. So I'm just going to rip this right off the calendar to make it a little bit easier to work with. Okay, and so you need to think about, because if you're looking at your film reel, you've got this one, which is horizontal. These are vertical and then horizontal at the bottom. So you need to think about how you're going to place those. So we need to think about, like, is that going to be horizontal or vertical, or, you know, whatever. So something to think about when coming up with your plan for the different images. So looking at this, and I don't know if you can see the orientation of the different pieces. So I've got this one as it will be on the bottom, and then I've got these two on the side. So I've got Debbie Reynolds here on the left side, and I think this is going to work for the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline, just like I did with the other piece. I'm going to outline these so that I can cut those out, and I will add those to, and then if you can see, I can see it. And then we'll put, now they make overlap a little bit, and we can adjust that, and I'll show you how we can do that. So we got Debbie Reynolds on the left side, and Donald O'Connor will be on the right. I'm trying to get as little of the writing as possible, just to, because it might look weird with the writing, but I'll explain how we can adjust that. Now I did that with the others. All right, so we'll cut those out. I'm going to cut those out, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've cut them out, and I'm just kind of like rough fitting just to see what it looks like, and I love the way it looks. It looks so cool. And actually it doesn't bother me about the word here, like, because it's Gloria's Feeling. We could, and I'll show you in Sound of Music. I actually added some of the lyrics to the songs. I had some of the sheet music, and you can see that I added some of the music. So you could do that too, or you could take some of the tape that you've used, the washi tape that you used, and you could add that over that if you'd like. But it actually doesn't bother me. I actually think it's kind of cool. All right, so now the challenge we have with the other, now I wanted to add the title of the movie. So the challenge we have is, this is the inside page of the calendar, and I was hoping that I could use this, but it's not big enough. The image here is too big for the space that we have, so that's not going to work. So what I can do is I can actually use this back in. This is on the back of the calendar, showing all the different images. So I could take this and then kind of put around. So you've got the picture there. It's not ideal. I kind of like the other, I wish I had a bigger title, but this is going to have to do for this. Now on this one, I could, in fact, I probably will, just to cover up those other images, put some of that washi tape around it. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, those of you with eagle eyes noticed I cut it the wrong way. So it's supposed to be, because it's on the top of the film canister, it needs to be cut this way with the top here, and I cut it the wrong way. So now we're going to have to be creative. And it's actually kind of good that you see that, because this happens all the time. When you're doing crafts, sometimes things get mixed up. So now I'm definitely going to use the washi tape to cover that up. So I'm going to cut this to fit the size that I need, and then we'll use the washi tape to cover up the other area. Well, that was unfortunate. Okay, but I'll use that same washi tape that I used on the smaller areas. Okay. So now we're going to affix the images onto the plastic. And so I'm going to do this one first just because I have to do some repair work on it. That happens. Sometimes it happens. All right. And I'm just going to put right on here. And we've got a little bit of space here, but that's okay because I'll put the washi tape on that. And basically what you're going to do is on each of these, we're going to attach the images. And I'm using, this is, like I said, permanent tape here. And we don't need to worry about the lights because they don't generate heat because they're just the small fairy lights. And just going to... And this was mostly just to give it this, actually I'm going to do it this way so I can see. It's mostly to give it a little bit of stability, is why I put it on this. So you could even put it on, poster board or something like that would work, okay? So let me finish doing the other two and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've done all of these. They're all attached to the plastic. And so now I'm going to take this just to kind of fix it up and to make it align a little bit more with the other inserts. I'm going to take and I'm going to put some tape down and I'll put it, maybe I'll just outline the whole thing. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So I'll do this. Let me do both sides first. I notice I'm facing it out. Okay, I'm going to do this. Let me actually face that one. I want to do this first. So I'm going to do it. See, I'm doing it facing each other like I did on the other edges. And I will really make sure that that's attached. Now I'm going to do the top and the bottom, just to make it a little bit more, I don't know, matchy, or whatever. I am a little bit off on that side. I am going to put this one facing down too, just because it seems right for that. And like I said, I could, if I had a piece of sheet music from Singing in the Rain, I could use that. That would work too. All right, so make sure that that's really adhered. And I'm actually going to attach a little, that's not big enough. Of course it's not big enough, Allison. Let me touch, I'm going to touch a little piece just to cover that little section there. And it will look fine once we're putting it on. All right, I'm really going to rub that in just to make sure that that's really adhered. And then I'm going to cut that out using the guideline in the back. There we go. Crisis averted. There are no crises in music and crafting. It all looks good. It's all great. It just adds character. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some distressing to the edges. And this just adds a little bit of dimension again to it. And you could use any color you want. I just happen to have this, this ink oxide here and this like brownish color, but you could use whatever you have. But I kind of like the fact that it makes it look old-fashioned, you know, like the old movies. I like that. Gene Kelly. And then Debbie Reynolds. This also helps to bridge the gap between the two different materials. And then same thing on this one. We do the same thing. All right, so we're done that part. All right, moving on. Now we're going to add the backing. So I'm using another one of those pieces of the plastic that is used for scrapbooking. And I'm actually going to, you're probably going to think, like, what is she doing here? I'm not going to line it up properly. So I'm going to add a little bit of a hole in the top. And I did that on the others as well. So if you see here, this is the West Side Story. There's a hole. The plastic starts here. And that's so you can hang it. So if you're using one of those standard wall hangers, you can hook it underneath this. And so it gives you a place, a really solid place to hook it. So that's why I'm doing that. So you can see I'm going to add a little space there just so that we can hook it onto the wall. And here I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm just literally going to take my pencil and I'm going to trace around the reel all the way around. And then I'm going to cut that out. All right. You don't need to watch me cut this out. I don't know if you can see the pencil marks. I can see them. I'm going to cut this out and I'll be right back. So I've cut it out and I've got this upside down, and literally we're going to, you want to make sure that you've got it right on the right spot there. And then I'm going to take my hot glue gun, and if it's not completely lined up, no worries, we can trim it after we glue it down. So I'm just going to hold it down. I'm going to add some hot glue around the edges just to get that nice and secure. Careful. Now, like I said, you can use a poster board on this. You could use scrapbooking paper, you know, anything you've got. I liked the plastic here for a couple reasons. I thought, well, number one, I had it, but I thought it would actually be cool because the light could actually reflect through the back of it as well, not just in the front. And I thought that was actually kind of a cool feature, especially since we're using this. You know, you could use it potentially as a nightlight. I thought that was really a good feature to have that. So that's why I did that. Here we go. Okay. Oops. Sorry, I got my glue gun. Get that nice. I'm gonna let that cool, and then I'm gonna trim. And I found that it's easiest to trim it this way, and going right, taking your scissors and just going right up to the canister, the film reel, like that, so that you can trim any excess. And it's all good. Okay, so we're getting close. All right, next we're going to take the super glue, the foam tabs, and we're going to put the foam tabs on the back of the images. So I put, you know, it's totally up to you how many you put, and you know how large your particular film reel is. I put a couple on this, one on each side, and I put a couple on the bottom. But you could really make this as you know, intense or like as sparse as you need based on your own particular reel. So now I'm just going to take off the back, and these are double-sided and they're very sticky. So I'm just going to take the backing off, and then we're going to put it right on top of this the backing, and this just provides a little bit of lift. Okay, and it's okay if it's not exact. So we put it right there, and then I'm just going to push down on those tabs. And there is Gene Kelly smiling and looking awesome. All right, so I'm going to do the other 3, and I will be right back. Okay, I have attached them all. You can see here, and let me show you so you can see the back. You can see where the glue tabs are, the foam tabs in the back, and the plastic that we've put on the back. Now you literally could be done right here. This could be hung in, your media room, or your room, depending on like your interests. If you love musicals, in your room or in your living room, whatever. So this could be done, but I'm going to add some fairy lights to it, and I just have this pack of fairy lights. They're just battery operated fairy lights, and they have. Pull the tab there. I always check to make sure they work before I put them in, and they do. And the thing that's really great about these is they you can trim them to make them fit your needs. Like I said, to be honest, if I were to do this again, I would actually use lights that have a remote, because I'm putting the light switch on the back. You'd have to take it off the wall every time you want to turn it on. So a remote switch would be probably a better choice. All right, so I'm unwinding them. So this, I'm going to be honest, is like the most stressful part for me, because sometimes I get tangled. And so I'm unwinding them because I'm going to wind them up the center of the film reel. And come on. Oh, that was better than I expected. Okay, so now what I've done is I actually put this on the back. So I want to be able to access the batteries in case it comes out. Now you can seriously just hot glue this right onto your backing, which I'm going to do right there. I'm doing it, notice, on one of the, goodness gracious, on one of the areas that are not transparent, as much as possible anyway. And then I'm going to switch this around. Okay, and this is going to come through. Now it's going to be hard for you to see, but I'm going to put it through, and I'm going to wrap it around here. But I want to glue it down so that it doesn't move. So I'm going to actually, it's a little hard for you to see in there, but I'm going to glue this down right here so that it stays still. Just hold that for a moment. And I'm doing it right on the kind of rim here, and that hopefully will keep it from kind of getting unwound, and you don't want it to be in the middle of one of these. That'll make sense in a moment when I start winding it up. Okay, I'm going to give it a second just to cool down. Now if you can see it in there, let's let that cool for a second. Okay, so that has cooled down a bit. So now I'm just going to wind it around. Now, I'm sure there are lots of ways you could actually attach it to some of the different areas here if you wanted to. And the reason I put the images on the back rather than attaching them like under the front here is I wanted the lights to light up the images. I just thought that would be kind of look like they're in the spotlight, so so to speak, or whatever. So here we go, and now it's going to. Just trying to get it underneath there. Come on. All right, there it is. All right, so I'm going to glue this. I know it's really hard for you to see, but I'm going to glue this down so that it doesn't move. I want to keep that. It's a little tricky for me to get to it, but I'm going to glue that so that, can you see in there, so that it doesn't move about. Now, you could also take this and wrap it around if you had more accessibility to that area. I don't necessarily. It's a little tricky. You can't see. I'm so sorry. It's really tricky for you to see. So I don't know if you can see in there. So I'm gluing that down right and there. And that's just so that it won't come unwound during this. Okay. So let that cool for just a moment. Okay, so that is cool. And there you go. That's it. Let's turn it on and see what it looks like with the lights on. Here, I'll turn, it's kind of hard for you to see because I have lights on here. Let me turn these lights off and see. You can see a little bit better. You see how that, I have an overhead light on. I'll turn my overhead light off and you'll see. There we go. That looks really cool. You can see how that could be a really cool night, like light in a media room as you're watching a show, and it really lights up the faces of the performers here. And so let's go back to, we've got our West Side Story here. And again, you can see the lights on that one. And then we have Sound of Music. And here's the Sound of Music. You see what I mean about the color in the back? It really does kind of let that light come through. So there you go. I hope you see some of these reels and you're able to create your own special, decoration for your media room. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.